Dr. Granasso, your principal. Thank you for coming. I think this is something that's very important and applicable for all of you. And so if you have questions, concerns, they'll definitely walk you through this, but it's really this idea of how do we make our students safe with all of the technology that they have access to, and they're so much smarter than we are when it comes to their phones and their iPads, right? And so really working through that. So I'm not going to be in here because I have a TK meeting in the district office, but you're in good hands with Karime and Yolanda and the team. So I will let you introduce yourselves, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Tori Torres. I have my two partners here with me today. This is Peyton and Tom. We work for Homeland Security Investigations in a task force that focuses on internet crimes against children. Before we get started, I just wanted to thank you guys for being here today, taking time out of your busy schedule. There's nothing I love more than a room full of parents who obviously care about their children. And I always tell parents that just being here today is the first step in preventing your child from becoming a victim. Getting the education that you need to help guide your kids through their next few years. So thank you for being here, and I hope you find this information helpful. And I encourage anyone to ask questions, raise your hand. This is like, I want it to be more of an open dialogue than just me telling you what to do. So like I said, we work for Homeland Security Investigations. The presentation today is just going to go through some of the trends that we're seeing as far as crimes in Orange County, and some tips that you guys can have as parents to implement at home with your children. Sorry, we're trying to do, so we have the Spanish PowerPoint right here, and the English one here, but was yours playing this time? Okay, let's go back and then we'll try to play it on this one.
The threat of child online exploitation has never been bigger.
In the 20 years I've been working, I've never seen this many leads come in.
We see that taking different forms, but essentially it's when an adult offender is targeting a juvenile in the online or digital environment with the ultimate goal of some sort of sexual victimization.
People don't know that this crime is happening at such an alarming rate because it is uncomfortable to talk about.
Bringing it to the forefront can help prevent the crime from happening in the first place.
One of the things that we always want parents to understand is predators go where the kids are. In the past, playgrounds, parks, public places, that's where offenders would go. Now, the digital environment is the playground for these kids.
The Know to Protect campaign will educate and empower children, teens, parents, trusted adults, and policymakers to prevent and combat online child sexual exploitation and abuse. It's never too late to start talking about this threat with kids and teens in your life. Taking a few simple steps can prevent your child from becoming the next victim. Join us and visit knowtoprotect.gov to learn more about what you can do to prevent online child exploitation and abuse.
So our agency has, like the video said, seen an increase in internet crimes against children. And so what we're trying to do is to educate parents on what they can do to prevent their child from becoming victims. And so our agency came up with Project iGuardian, which is the presentation that I'm going to be giving you guys today. There's also the Know2 project, which is the campaign for families where you can access resources and other information online. So I'll be giving you guys that information at the end of the presentation. So just a little bit about HSI. A lot of people don't know that we do focus on child exploitation. Our group in Orange County, we're a task force. We work with local PD, and we have about 7 agents, and all we do is work internet crimes against children. Specifically predators who are looking to or possess child sexual abuse material. So throughout this presentation, I will be using CSAM, which stands for Child Sexual Abuse Material. It used to be referred to as child pornography, which was the more common term, but we have since changed that term because pornography insinuates that there is a consensual relationship. And so obviously when a minor is involved, there is no consent. So we refer to it as CSAM. We have 30 main offices throughout the country and 235 domestic field offices. Orange County is a domestic field office that investigates these crimes. We also have over 90 offices across the globe, so when we do happen to have a predator that is in another country, we have the luxury of still continuing to work with HSI to do what we can to bring justice to the victims. And like I said, one of our mandates is protecting children.
When I was just starting out, it was harder. You really had to keep things hush hush. But then the internet came along and everything changed. Now we hide in plain sight. And share all kinds of things. Review, rate, make recommendations, just like anything else out there. Pre-internet, you know how hard it was to pretend to be a 9-year-old girl. Now I just roll up looking like their BFF. And the best part? The only people who can stop me pretend I don't exist. If you ask me, there's never been a better time to be a monster.
So I like that video because in the 6 years that I've been working in child exploitation, I can tell you that there is no stereotype of what our predators look like, especially in Orange County. You know, we do have the teachers or the predators that are in affluent neighborhoods. And so you have to be aware that the guy driving the white van is not always the one that's going to be the predator. So this was touched on a little bit before, but the reports that we are receiving have been exponentially increasing, especially since the beginning of the pandemic. The way that we get our leads are every electronic service provider, and what I mean by that is Instagram, Snapchat, Google, Yahoo, any company in the US that provides an electronic service to its clients has a legal right to report anytime there's CSAM shared on their servers. And so what that means is the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children will send us an account, say for example, a Google Gmail account, where an individual is either sending CSAM or keeping it on their computer. It's somehow tied to their account. So they will send us that account information, IP address, and we are then looking through the content and pursuing legal action against these predators for possessing this material. And so I think in the pandemic, more kids were online, more predators were online because they weren't working or they're working from home now and can get away with a lot more. And so we've just seen these types of crimes skyrocket within the last 4 years. And us as an agency, we're just trying to keep up and making sure that we are following every lead that we get. So some of the things that I'm going to cover today are knowing the threats, how this exploitation happens, personal information and data permanency, sexting and sextortion, what to do if this happens to your child, and I'm going to provide you guys with some resources that you can work with. So knowing the threats, Since you guys have elementary school kids, you can definitely start setting the groundwork for having these conversations with them. Obviously, you're not gonna jump into a sexting conversation with a child who's in elementary school. So things that you can kind of start to teach them now are protecting their personal information online, knowing what to look for as far as like pop-ups that, you know, when you're watching YouTube and ads pop up, knowing not to click on certain things, making sure they're not communicating with strangers online if they're, you know, gaming and they're in a chat room, things of that nature. And then as your child gets older and has more freedom as far as being online, that's when we need to have more of like the sexting conversations, making sure they know what these predators act like online so that they avoid any type of interaction with them and definitely avoid meeting with people online and things of that nature. So research has shown that social media is very addictive for children. This is because they're getting an instant gratification anytime someone's liking their post or the number of views that they're getting. It's giving them a hit of dopamine, the same that as adults we get maybe when we drink alcohol or you know, those types of things. So kids they have a very hard time setting boundaries with their own social media, which is why it is very important for us as parents to make sure that we're involved in that process. And also a big part of that is that children's brains aren't fully developed until they are between the ages of 18 and 25. And so the prefrontal cortex is responsible for, like I said, setting boundaries, maturity, making good decisions. And so as a parent, I think we need to kind of put it on ourselves that we are acting as their prefrontal cortex until theirs is fully developed. And I think, so, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with kids are doing online these days. So they're on social media, a lot of them are playing online games like Roblox, a lot of them are watching YouTube videos, and some of them are involved in like virtual reality gaming where they put on the headsets and meeting other people that way. So here's the top 10 free social media apps. I like putting this up here because just looking at it, some of these are where our predators know to go to talk to kids, specifically because some of these companies are outside of the US and they aren't law enforcement friendly, meaning they don't provide us enough information to do our jobs to protect children. So Telegram is like one of the biggest ones right now where predators will lure your kids onto Telegram because almost anything that happens on that app, we have a really hard time tracking. And so they're very savvy. They know how to kind of evade law enforcement. Also, you know, Messenger that's attached to Facebook. If your kid has a Facebook, they're probably going to be able to get onto Messenger. So here are the social media apps that we see and deal with most often. I think a lot of parents believe that simply based on how popular an app is, that their kid would most likely be safe on it. And that's just not the case. Most of our leads come from Instagram. They come from Snapchat, Facebook. We are inundated with accounts that are constantly sharing CSAM or having inappropriate conversations with minors on Instagram and Snapchat. And we honestly have a hard time keeping up with it because there's just so many. So just be aware that if your child comes to you and says, well, Mom, everyone has Instagram, it doesn't mean it's safe. You as the parent have to kind of still monitor it and go in and make sure that the settings are appropriate for your child. And here are some other applications that I would just be aware of if your child is asking for it. Specifically, so Whisper and Scout, these apps are location-based. So what kids will do is they go on, they put their zip code, and they make a post. And sometimes that post will say, hey, who wants to hang out today? Well, it will literally shoot out a message to everyone within like a 1 mile radius. That way, they know, hey, we can hang out because we live close to each other. When we do online operations, we actually use Whisper in order to catch predators. Because predators know if they're trying to meet up with a kid in person, that's the app that they can most easily go on and communicate with a minor and get them to hang out that day. So, I understand it can be very overwhelming because there's always a new app. Almost every day a new app is created. And as a parent, you kind of think, well, how do I even keep up with this information? Us as investigators, and what I would say is a good rule of thumb for parents is if your child is asking to be on an app, I would give yourself a 2-week period where you download the app, you create an account, and you learn how the app works yourself. You know, what kind of functions there are. Is there a chat feature? Do you put in a location? And that way you can determine as a parent, is this safe for my child? And like I said, we as investigators are kind of doing the same thing. There's no magic wand to know how all these apps work. We are, when we get a case that involves one of these apps and we aren't familiar with it, we download it and we're just on it as a regular user in order to gain that knowledge to decide, you know, hey, is this something we be worried about or not? And like I said, here's some more applications. These are, a lot of these are live video chat apps. And so predators love to get kids on a live video chat because it's not as trackable what happens on these, and it's not like they're taking images of it, but they still get to exploit the child through a live chat. And once the chat ends, it's almost like it never existed, and that we have a hard time knowing exactly what happens when they're on that video chat. So I just wanted to share with you guys, so like I said, we will use certain apps when we're doing online operations. Every year, we try to do Operation Online Guardian, where a few of us will jump online pretending to be minors and we engage with individuals online, hoping to catch predators that are trying to meet up with us as minors and have sex with us in person. So this, I like to show this picture. That's me as a 13-year-old, and it took me 5 seconds to take a selfie and to make myself look like a 13-year-old. The technology these days has made it really easy for people to look younger than they are. And although that makes my job easier, predators are also using the software. So grown men are using these apps in order to make themselves look significantly younger to entice children to meet up with them, thinking they're meeting up with someone their own age. This was the operation I think we did last summer, and we ended up getting 139 arrests in a week. That included LA and Orange County. But one good thing that's come of this is Homeland Security, because we are a federal agency, we can take cases federal instead of state, and these predators get a lot more time federally. So that's something we've been working on. We have successfully prosecuted our first federal case for an individual who was simply meeting up to have sex with a child. Obviously that's a big crime, but in the realm of child exploitation, it is seen as like a lower level crime. But it's a good thing that the U.S. Attorney's Office in Orange County is taking priority for those cases. So there's also some other ways that you as a parent can educate yourself on, you know, learning apps, or how to set parental controls. So here's some some websites that we vetted and are good information. There's the Family Online Safety Institute, the Carly Ryan Foundation, Common Sense Media. And then you can always go onto Google or Meta. They have their own platforms that are dedicated to safety, and so they will kind of help you guys set up certain accounts so that they are safe for your children. Snapchat has one as well. Roblox has one as well. I put this up here because, like I said, a lot of parents don't realize that almost every application can be unsafe. We have had a lot of predators who beat children in the chat function on Roblox and eventually lure them onto a different app in order to exploit them. And then these are, like I said, there's the live streaming, which happens in YouTube, Sky. Discord is a common gaming chat application. So if your child's on Roblox and the predator says, hey, let's go to Discord, chances are your kid might not see the red flags because it's still a gaming chat application. But we have a lot of predators that are on Discord as well. So I personally don't like to spend too much time on the darknet. Have you guys heard of the darknet? Okay, so the darknet is, you have to be pretty savvy to know how to get on there and how to operate it. I don't think, your child is way more likely to be exploited on Instagram than to be exploited on the darknet. So I don't spend too much time because we honestly, in my 6 years of being here, I have not worked one darknet case. But I still think it's important information, and if you want more information, it is out there. This was a case, an HSI case. These two individuals, one was a US citizen, one was in Canada. They created a website on the darknet that was dedicated to sharing and producing CSAM called the Vito's Gift Box. So over time, they gained a lot of traction. They ended up meeting in person and actually gained access to an infant and exploited the infant. Soon after that, HSI was finally able to locate these individuals and connect them to the darknet website. So they have been apprehended. If you listen to podcasts, there's Hunting Roarhead, which it goes through the whole case from beginning to end. It can give you a lot of information on the darknet and a lot of information on how these cases operate. But like I said, as a parent, I think it's important for you guys to just focus on the common social media apps that your kids would be using. Okay, so here's some tips for this section is predators go where the kids go. Kids are online, so predators are online these days. So it's important to just know who your children are communicating with online, monitoring who they're friends with, and doing your own research on these applications before you allow your child to download something on their phone. So how exploitation happens.
Dinner in 5 minutes, Evie.
Don't be shy. You look so pretty in your picture, Evie. Just want to see what you've got under there. Just for me.
Dinner's ready.
Okay, Mom.
Girls are increasingly being
child sexual abusers. Talk to your child. Agree boundaries and set device controls together. Visit talk.iwf.org.uk for guidance.
So, as I mentioned before, a lot of the predators are very savvy with the internet. So, lately what we've seen is they are creating fake profiles where they're pretending to be a minor that goes to your child's school or knows the same friends, and that kind of gives them an in to building a relationship with your child. Oftentimes they'll just meet them online randomly, and then they create this persona that they know the child would engage with. Once they kind of build that initial trust, they will move them to a separate platform. Like I said, one of those chatting features that we have a harder time tracking. And then that's when they really start to groom the child. Grooming starts off by just like giving them compliments, telling them they're beautiful, turning them against their parents. So they often target kids who are having issues at home or having issues at school, because they use that as leverage into building a relationship with these children. Sometimes they'll send money through, PayPal, Apple Pay. They'll send them gifts in the mail. I once had a partner who had a case where the predator sent the child an iPad in an Amazon lockbox. So the parents had no idea that this child had gone to an Amazon lockbox, like in a store, if you guys are familiar with those. And the iPad had internet service, so this child was able to communicate with the predator completely separate from their devices that the parents were aware of. So these guys are smart, and they have all these techniques that are able to get to your children. Now these predators have different goals and what they're looking for. Some of them just want pictures and images from your child to keep. Some of them want to meet with them online, meet with them in person, and some of them are looking for financial gain, and that's what we call sextortion. I'll touch a little bit more on that in a little bit, because we have seen sextortion crimes increase a lot in the last few years as well. So when your child is age appropriate, I know your kids are in elementary school now, or I know some of you probably have teenagers as well. You want to just start having these conversations with your kids about what kind of things these predators are doing, and just make sure that they know that, hey, although this might look like a friend from school online, have you actually met that friend in person? And if you haven't, then we're not going to be friends with them. We're not going to communicate with them. So that's another rule of thumb that I can tell parents as far as going through their friend list. You could literally go through and say, have you met this person? Have you hung out with them? And if it's a no, just delete them off the friends list and make it pretty clear that they cannot have communication with them. The chat feature, I would not let my kid chat on any apps if it were me. My kids aren't old enough yet, but that's a good way to just cut it out. Sorry, you can't be on an app and use the chat function while you're playing Roblox, or you can't use Facebook Messenger or anything like that. And then teaching the dangers to your children about switching platforms. So if someone asks them, hey, let's go chat on this application, red flag, don't do it. Or if they want to meet up online, same thing. So a little bit about personal information and data permanency. The things that I'm talking about here are like passwords, location, where they go to school, your home address, and their phone number. If you are going to allow your children to have social media, make sure, number one, that their accounts are on private. That way, people can't just come across their profile and see everything that they have to offer. Snapchat has a feature, a location feature as well, where, kids like to do this because they like to see where their friends are at all day long. And I understand that, I mean, I was once a teenager and that would have been kind of cool, but it's just not safe because it can't protect them from other people knowing where they're at all day long. And like I said, going through their friends list and asking, hey, are you actually friends with this person in real life? I think that that's important to do. And just making sure that, what they're sharing on their social media isn't giving away certain information about your family. So if they have do they have school uniforms here? Yes. Does it say the school name? No, okay, well, that's good. But still probably the colors might give it away if someone's local. I don't post my kids in their school uniforms online because that's just, it's an easy way for someone to know where your kid goes to school. So there's, iPhones have, a feature now where almost location can be tracked almost everywhere you go. This is specifically, so we've seen instances where if you take a photo with your iPhone, it will have the location information linked to the photo. So if you took a picture of me standing here right now and you sent it to your friend would be able to click on the photo and it gives them what's called metadata, and that metadata will tell them the date that the picture was taken, date and time. It tells them what kind of phone it was taken on, and it will not only give them the location, but it will say, hey, here, let's give directions to where it's at. So I know as parents we're good about that, but your friend, or I'm sorry, your kids could take a picture with an iPhone, send it to a predator thinking it's a friend, and that's how quickly they get location information on your child. So there is a way to take this off of the phone. So if you go to privacy and security under location services, I think when you get the phone, it's automatically on the on mode. You want to go ahead and make sure that you're going in and you're toggling it off. And I think that Androids have a similar feature. Yes.
So I did try it last night and it works on Android too.
It works on Android. Okay, so it's probably pretty similar, where you're just looking for the location services and then you just want to make sure that it's turned off. And I know it's tempting to have that on your child so that, yes.
That's what I was gonna ask, what about the tracking apps like Life360 and Find My iPhone?
So I think those are separate. I would not use just the iPhone to track your child. I would try to find a separate entity to track your child because, and I'm not super tech savvy, but I wouldn't trust that only you are able to access your child's location data. You know what I mean? So, yeah, if you're using, I know they have like other applications or ways that you can track your child. Me as a parent, that's probably what I would do, rather than giving them a phone and keeping the location services on.
I would also check, I had a case recently where a child was on Find My iPhone, was sharing with a subject. So I would also check to see who your child is actually sharing their like location services.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're a predator, you might as well ask a child to share their location, hoping that they do, and kids don't always know that that's, you know, unsafe, so. This might be more relevant for kids in elementary school, and like I said, you just kind of want to set the tone with them, but not, you know, not using offensive language online, not posting pranks that they pull on friends, or hate speech, or, you know, getting into trouble, violence, things of that nature. You also don't want your children to be exposed to things like that online. So there is a sensitive content warning in iPhones where you can go on and put this setting on. That way, if sensitive content is gonna come up on their phone, then it gives them a warning. We like to share this just because kids don't necessarily realize how permanent what they put out on social media is. Things can follow you your whole life, so they can make a post when they're in high school about something that's inappropriate, and they go to apply for a job or become an athlete, and those kind of things will follow them if they aren't careful. So I think it's important now, when they're in elementary school, if they're having access to the computers and online, to teach them, hey, whatever you post on the internet is gonna be there forever. So make sure what you're posting on the internet is a good reflection of who you are as a person, because this can come back and haunt you later on. So, just tips for this section is, turn off all the location features on apps and on the phone. Communicate how permanent data is online, and set clear expectations for your child on what they can and cannot post online. So, sexting and sextortion, I'll let you guys watch a video first to kind of give you a little bit of
I know you've been waiting for this for a while. I wanted to give you something special. Who are you? Why are you doing this?
So as I mentioned before, that there's different types of motives for sextortion, and one of them is for financial gain. I think there's kind of like trends in crime rings trying to extort money. I know that for a while they were targeting like the elderly. In the last few years, they have been targeting minors, specifically young males, in order to extort them for money. And so what's happening is they are creating profiles pretending to be beautiful young women. They're communicating with, I would say like I would say anywhere between 12 to 18 years old males, and eventually getting them to produce a CSAM image of their genitalia or a video of them masturbating. And once they have that, they threaten to send it to all of their friends and family, and if they don't, or if they don't send them money, that's what they're gonna do. So specifically, this crime ring that we've seen is located in West Africa, which is unfortunate because we aren't able to prosecute predators in West Africa. So this terrible thing is happening to these families, and there's almost nothing we can do about, first of all, recovering that image or recovering the financial funds from that situation. So I just wanted to show you an example of what this looks like. This was one of the pieces that I first started working. This is what like the Instagram profile looks like when they create this. Personally, I feel like they're targeting young men because a young boy will see these pictures and probably will do anything this woman asks him to do. And the technology is so good that they can put this face on their face in a live stream video. And it looks very real. It sounds like a woman. And she's engaging her son to do something inappropriate. inappropriate, and they fully believe it, so they do whatever she says. Soon after that, they start sending threatening text messages. They also threaten to report them to the police because they created child pornography. They threaten pretty much anything they can in order to get money from these kids. And they make it very easy for these kids to send money through Apple Pay. They just say, here's my link, send me money. And unfortunately, a lot of the times the money does get sent. So what I tell parents to tell their kids to look out for, a lot of the times these predators are using broken English. They're asking the child to meet with them on a different application. The ones that I see most common are Google Hangouts, WhatsApp, Discord, and Telegram. They're asking for inappropriate images or asking them to get on the live video. And then after that happens, they're asking for money. A very unfortunate outcome of these types of investigations, and this is occurring in Orange County, is a lot of these young teenage boys are committing suicide because they are too embarrassed to tell their parents, or they just feel a lot of shame for this happening, and so they think that that's their only option to get out of this. So, like I said, this is kind of like a new trend. Since 2019, these kinds of reports have continuously gone up. I would say though, actually in the last 6 months to a year, it has slowed down. And I think that's because people are becoming educated on it and hopefully having these conversations with their children about what to look out for, and so that they don't become victims of this. Okay, so things that are important to take from this section is just teaching your child that, once a photo or a video is out on the internet, it's really hard to take that information down. If sextortion does happen to your child, say for instance, your child comes to you and says, hey, this person's asking me for pictures, or hey, I sent a picture and I sent money. We, as investigators, we ask you to stop the communication, but please do not delete any of the information communication between the child and the predator, because we need almost every piece of information we can to try and locate the suspect. There are suspects in the U.S. that are doing sextortion as well, so it's very important for us to get all the information that we can. You can block the accounts that the requests are coming from as well. Okay, so a little bit more about if this happens to your child. And before I go into this, I will say this happens in almost every home. I've had victims in homes with two parents that were law enforcement officers that had a conversation with their child about how to avoid this. So I don't think there should be any shame involved with this happening to your child. It's unfortunate, but it is very common. I have days where I will go out and talk to 10 families in Orange County who have children who have been sextorted online. So don't feel ashamed in reaching out to law enforcement and getting help, because it's not just a problem that's happening to a few families, it's happening to a lot of families in the state. Some things to look out for in the behavior of your child if you think that something's going on. If there are changes in moods, I know we have teenagers, that's just standard, but if they're being weird about hiding their electronics, or like wanting to go into the bathroom with their phone, or wanting to have their phone in their room at night, those are things that chances are they're not doing something that they're supposed to be doing. If they're withdrawing from friends, they're just always chatting on their phone, receiving random behaviors, or just like starting to ask you questions about how the internet works, or, you know, even crimes that can be committed with kids or things like that. So if you think something is happening to your child, or if, you know, you're not comfortable with their online behavior, just start having the conversations with them. And hopefully they're comfortable enough to come to you and talk to you guys about it, but if they aren't, it might be time to go through their device and look through who they're talking with and seeing what their activity is. And if that does happen and you do see something that you think reaches the level of an investigation, like I said, don't delete anything, keep it, because that's the first question when we have parents that call us and say, hey, this happened to my kid, we say, okay, what are the account names, you know, how much money was sent, we need all that type of information.
Okay, so you did a thing. You sent a picture of yourself with no clothes on. Something you thought wouldn't be shared. And in a polite society, cats wear clothes, right? Anyway, seemed like a good idea at the time. But now things have gone wrong. Terribly wrong. Maybe you shared the picture with someone you loved and trusted, but after a while, things weren't so friendly. Or they said they'd help you become a star. They just wanted to use you. Or maybe you met someone online and they really seemed to understand you. But then it got weird. And it turned out to be someone totally different. Now the person you shared the pic with is demanding more and threatening to tell. That's sextortion. Yep, that's a thing. The perpetrator relies on you feeling ashamed and keeping quiet. But they are the ones who should be ashamed. What they are doing is wrong. And it's never too late to find your voice to ask for help. Or too early to reach out to your friends to tell them you'll be there no matter what. In fact, you can stop sextortion before it starts by talking about it now. With support, you can do anything, and you can focus on the important business of being cats. So tell your closest friends today you've got their back no matter what.
I know sometimes as a parent it's really awkward having these conversations with your kids. So that's a really good video that you can show to your kids because it kind of brings it down to their level and also gives them a sense of like hope that like, hey, if this did happen, I can still ask for help. You know, it kind of gives them an out to come to you and say, oops, I did something. And that's way better than, like I said, some of the other outcomes that we've seen. So recently within the last year, so in the past, I, as an investigator, had to be the one to go in and try to take down images that were online, but they have now opened it up to the public, and so now you, as a parent or a child, if you posted something that you did not want to post and you want it taken down, you can now go online and give them the information, and they will assign someone to, it's literally their job to go out and try to find this image and take it down. So this is really, I think that's really great because sometimes you don't want to come to law enforcement, you don't want to get people involved, and you just want something taken down from the internet. So this is a great resource for you as a parent, or you know, if something happens to your child. Here's a little video about it.
Losing control of your nude images online is terrifying. And if you're a teen, it may feel impossible to reverse it. While you can't go back in time and unsend, we can help you move forward.
Okay, so here's some tips. So if it does happen to your family and your child, just be calm and know that you know, there's a lot of other families who and you don't necessarily want to immediately, I know the natural instinct would wanna discipline your child or, you know, ask them why the hell they would ever do that, but, I think you can get to that later on. Maybe in the beginning, be a little bit more empathetic and let them know, like, hey, this isn't the end of the world, like, we can figure this out. Cause I feel like you have to give your kids the opportunity to have some hope that this will go away, cause if they don't, it's hard for them to get past that. Also just create that environment where you can tell your kids that they can come to you if something bad happens. No matter how bad it is, you're their parent, yes, you'll be mad at them, but it's something you guys can figure out together. Stop the communication with all the offenders, but save the evidence and contact the right authorities when that happens. So, here's the top 10 tips that we like to give to parents to go at home and implement in their homes with their children. So like I said, creating a dialogue with your child where they feel comfortable to have these conversations with you and ask questions about things. Password protecting your devices, setting a time and limit on their devices. So one thing that, my partner, she just retired, she did this for 20 years and she has 2 teenage boys. And her rule at home was, yes, you can have the devices, but when it's bedtime, the devices come in my room. You can't bring them into the bathroom, and when you're on the devices, I'm around and I can kind of tell what you're doing on them. And she said that was a pretty good rule of thumb for her, because we do see that, I mean, because your kid's not gonna be taking a picture of themselves nude in front of you. It's gonna happen behind a closed door. So that is something that I think would be a good idea to implement. Setting all their applications in social media to private, turning off location services, talking about permanency of data, creating, some families like to create a contract with their child about expectations with their online behavior. I would, personally, I feel like, that's something I would do if they broke your trust. But in the beginning, maybe try to give them some responsibility to do things right on their own. Know your child's friends list, remove all the strangers. They should never leave a game chat to talk to someone on a different platform, and do not delete any images or usernames or data that would allow us to find out who the suspect is in an investigation. I mentioned before the No Tube project. That is our agency's campaign to try and educate parents about these topics. Like I said, you guys should leave here feeling good that you are prioritizing your children's health and well-being. I know that some of you won't be getting into these topics until many years from now, but you're setting the foundation today, and these kind of skills and this knowledge will carry on with you just by being here today. So thank you guys again for being here. On the website, you can find pretty much all the information that I've talked about today, tips, different things, if you want to give yourself a refresher in 5 years. It's a good resource to have. Other resources, so the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, like I said, that's where we get all of our information from, but if you could also report any online exploitation that way. It gets filtered locally, so if you move and you're not here anymore, you could go on that website, file a report, and it would get sent to either a local police department or an agent that's working in your jurisdiction. The Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, I think, is helpful for all families with kids. The Take It Down website. And then just a little bit about, so that's that's, my cell phone number and my email address. I have had a lot of parents reach out to me in the community after, you know, this type of setting and saying, hey, something happened to my kid. So, you can always reach out to me and I can either help you work, you know, get to the right person, or I might be investigating your case. So I would say the quickest way to get an investigator on your case is either to call me. I won't be here forever, but you can either call me or you can contact the cybertipline.org or call that phone number. Any questions? I know it can be very overwhelming, but you guys are a step ahead of the rest, I can tell you that.
¿Preguntas?
Yeah.
I thought this was a great presentation, with a lot of information, but I was wondering, what presentation do you give to the children?
So that's a good question. So we used to give presentations to all ages, but what we learned over the years is, it really only starts to stick with them 5th grade and up. So we no longer do young children. 5th grade and up, we incorporate, like I give this presentation, we do show them some of these videos. I don't talk as much about like cases that I've worked in specific predators in Orange County, but it's more of like a general, like, hey, here's some red flags to look out for. Here are some things that are happening to your friends. So it's very similar to this, but just it's a toned down and age appropriate. For the little kiddos, we have, it's called NetSmarts. Is that for the NCMEC website? Yes. So the National Center and Missing Exploited Children, this top one right here, they've created a whole curriculum for online safety for little kids where it's like fun videos, you know, coloring sheets, things that are way more age appropriate for them. So I would say if you're wanting to start to educate your kids now, there are materials for that. So I would start with the NetSmarts, and you can just show them 1 or 2 videos, and if they have questions, answer their questions. And I would say if you do that, you're setting it up for them to come to you when they are teenagers and start to learn what's really going on, you know.
Mine's in 6th grade, so do you do a presentation for the kids here in this class, or how do we get that to happen?
So that's gonna be
have conversations with her, but like, me as a mom is different than you.
Yes, yeah. We, since COVID, we haven't done as many in-person presentations. I think we're just now starting to build traction and get asked to come to schools. So it's up to your school administrators if it's something that they want for the kids, or if the parents are certainly asking for it, then I think that it will be prioritized. So yeah, I mean, if that's, I would say maybe talk to the school about us doing a presentation for 5th grade and up. Because is it 6th grade is the last grade here? Yes. So yeah, we could do one for the kids 5th and 6th grade.
Any more questions?